Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Camping with the Coles. Thank you so much for joining us. In late summer of 2025, we embarked on a 7-part camping trip in Northern Ontario. We followed Boreal Route. This route is laid out by the Ontario Parks and it starts in Sudbury. They designed it to help people discover Canada's boreal forest. It's a unique ecosystem unlike anything you'll find in Southern Ontario. The boreal forest is the largest forest region in the world. It spans 8 countries, including Canada, the USA, China, Finland, Japan, Norway, Russia, and Sweden. It's also the largest forest region in Canada and the largest forest region in Ontario, covering 50% of Ontario's landmass. The majority of organized camping in Ontario is done in Southern Ontario, and that's in the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Forest and the deciduous forest, and that's the majority of the camping we do. On this trip, we wanted to expand our horizons and check out the boreal forest. The boreal forest is predominantly made up of coniferous trees such as black and white spruce, jack pine, balsam, fir, tamarack, and eastern white cedar. It has some deciduous trees such as poplar and white birch, but coniferous trees dominate. This area of Ontario also has soil that is quite often sandy, and there are a lot of small kettle lakes made from the melted blocks of glacial ice.
When planning a trip like this, it takes some dedication and planning. In our case, we weren't only planning for us, we were having 2 other couples join us, Sue and John, and Jamie and Kelly. That adds a little more stress to the reservation process. We wanted to book each park at the earliest possible time because we needed dates set for 3 campsites at each park to smoothly do our route. We decided that 3 nights at each park gives us a good chance to explore each park and see what they're all about. The entire Boreal Route is 10 parks over 1,700 kilometers. We also have to add 500 kilometers to get to the start of the route and 500 kilometers to get home. So that means a total of 2,700 kilometers. For us, that would mean at least 30 days and driving 2,700 kilometers. That was a little too much, so we made a plan for a mini Boreal Route. After leaving Kettle Lakes, instead of continuing north to René Brunel, we decided to go west to Ivanhoe Lake. That cut off the loop consisting of René Brunel, Fushimi, Nagagamesis, if that's the way it's said, White Lake, and Potholes. We would do the southern loop. We also added a couple of parks at the beginning of the route that we've wanted to go to for a while that aren't technically in the boreal forest, but they are along our driving route. That was Marten River and Finlayson Point. Also, between Ivanhoe and Halfway Lake, we decided to throw in Wakami. We plotted it all out on Google Maps so that each park was around 2 hours from the next park. So that meant a total of 8 parks to camp at. After some research and discussion amongst our group, we decided to just make Kap-Kig-Iwan a day trip instead of camping at it, and that meant our trip was 7 parks to camp at over 21 days. That seemed manageable to us.
Now we had our plans set, and it was time to make the reservations. We needed to book each park exactly 5 months before the arrival date at exactly 7 a.m. You all know the campsite lottery. The countdown to 7 a.m., hit the reserve button, and hold your breath. Well, we had to do that 7 times, and each time with the other couples on a group text chain finding out what everybody got.
It's not available.
Are you serious?
Not available.
Oh my God.
You did get yours?
I got mine.
Oh, you did get yours?
Yeah. Each couple had a campsite they were going to try for and a backup site in case they didn't get the first one. We wanted to make sure we weren't competing with each other for the same sites. Each time, it was a scramble of text messages and reservation attempts to ensure everyone got in. Sometimes we were lucky to get sites close together. Other times, we were pretty spaced apart. For those of you that are used to this chaos of making reservations, you might think this is almost impossible to do. However, the further north you go, the easier it is to get a campsite. Yes, these parks are smaller, with fewer sites, but most of the population lives in Southern Ontario, and they don't want to travel that far north, so it's easier to get in those parks. This would be way more difficult to do with parks in Southern Ontario. After repeating this crazy process 7 times, we had our parks booked. Now, we just had to wait 5 months to get going camping.
Well, this is it. We are heading out on our big trip for 2025. We're going to be going to 7 parks, almost 2,000 kilometers over 21 days. That means we're going to be spending 3 nights at each park, and these are all parks that we've never been to before. All the parks we're going to be hitting are provincial parks. Our first park is going to be Marten River Provincial Park. From Marten River, we're going to be heading to Finlayson Point. And from Finlayson Point, we're heading up to Esker Lakes. But on the way, we're going to stop in just for the afternoon at Kap-Kig-Iwan, because there is a beautiful hike there with waterfalls, and we wanted to check that out. After Esker Lakes, we're going to be heading to Kettle Lakes Provincial Park, and then we're going to be heading to Ivanhoe Provincial Park. Then we're going to be off to Wakami, and Wakami has no electrical sites at all, so we're going to be going without power for those 3 days. After Wakami, doing the last park, Halfway Lake, and we're probably going to be pretty tired at that point, but we're expecting to love everything here. We've heard so many good things about these parks, so we're so excited to be doing this trip. And in total, it's going to be just under 2,000 kilometers, over 21 days, 7 parks. Let's get going now.
Go camping. Good boy, get in there.
July 24th, we headed out from Kitchener, and like usual, we took the back route to get up to Aurelia so that we could avoid the 401 and 400. It adds a little time to the trip, but is so much more enjoyable. We arrived at Marten River Provincial Park at 7:45 p.m. This park has 197 campsites, consisting of 104 electric and 93 non-electric sites. We had a really large site that went back pretty far, and we were close enough to the water that we could just carry our kayaks over. We were also very close to one of the 3 beaches. All 3 sites were very close together, with Jamie and Kelly in the middle. On July 25th, Kelly hosted a Christmas in July celebration for us, complete with the Christmas unicorn. We were lucky enough to be there for the Fleming Logger Sports. These students from Fleming College compete all over in logger sports. They come once a year to Marten River Provincial Park to show off their lumberjack skills. They have chainsaw competitions, chainsaw carving, axe competitions, axe throwing, and various relays. Cheryl and I competed in a log toss competition. Oh yeah. And we also got to see a real blacksmith at work. It was a great time for everyone. If you want to go to this park and you're trying to decide between bringing bikes or watercraft, we'd suggest watercraft like canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddleboards, or even motorboats. This park is great for that. There are a lot of waterfront sites that you can launch directly from your site. The cycling in the park is pretty rough because it's really hilly. We rated this park an 8 out of 10, and Jax rated it a 6 out of 10.
We left Marten River on July 27th and did the half-hour drive to Finlayson, arriving around 1 p.m. This park has 108 campsites, consisting of 41 electric and 67 non-electric sites. We were immediately impressed with the newer gatehouse that I believe is also the staff house and a very nice public washroom. We got a small pull-through site right next to Sue and John and a few campsites away from Kelly and Jamie on the same road. Similar to Marten River, this is a very hilly park, which makes it difficult for cycling. I'm just going to walk down because it's pretty steep and gravelly and I don't want to wipe
This whole park is really hilly, huh?
Yeah, it's super hilly. I already slid my bike out and I'm walking it. It has a great boat launch into Lake Temagami for all kinds of watercraft. You can also put in canoes and kayaks at a couple other spots, one of which was very close to our site. There are no hiking trails in the park, but right across the street is Caribou Mountain / White Bear Forest Conservation Reserve with 17 kilometers of free hiking trails. It also has Temagami Fire Tower. If you're going this way, you have to check out the fire tower. For a small voluntary donation, you can check out the stunning view from the base of the fire tower, and if you're feeling brave, you can climb to the top of the fire tower. I'm deathly afraid of heights, but I summoned up some courage to climb to the top. It was definitely worth it. I was scared and white-knuckling it the whole way up and down, and it didn't help that Ben and Jamie shook it.
That wasn't me. That was all Jamie.
The town of Temagami is just 1 kilometer away, and you can get supplies there. We had lunch at the Outfitter Bar and Smokehouse. It was very nice eating on the patio, overlooking the marina and floatplane. We saw a family paddle over from their campsite on stand-up paddleboards. We enjoyed paddling on Lake Temagami and checking out campsites and cottages. There are a lot of motorboats on the lake, and the lake is used for floatplanes landing and taking off. The lake is supposed to be really good for fishing. We rated this park 7 out of 10, and Jax rated it 5 out of 10.
We left Finlayson Point on July 30th to head to Esker Lakes Provincial Park. This is about a 2-hour drive. About halfway between the two parks is Kap-Kig-Iwan Provincial Park. This park only has 43 campsites, consisting of 32 electric and 11 non-electric sites. We decided to stop in there along the way for a hike. Jamie has stayed at Kap-Kig-Iwan before, and he suggested that because of our time restraints, we should stop in there for a hike rather than camp, as there isn't much to do there but a few hikes. The hiking there was fantastic. We finally transitioned to the Boreal Forest. The High Falls Trail is a 500-meter linear trail along the Ankleheart River that takes you to the base of the majestic High Falls. The Hell's Gate Trail is a 2.3-kilometer loop trail that follows the river through dramatic waterfalls, rapids, and deep ravines. We continued on our way to Esker Lakes. This park has 103 campsites consisting of 64 electric and 39 non-electric campsites. The 16-kilometer drive on Highway 672 to the park entrance has no shoulders, so we really hoped we wouldn't break down or get a flat in that area. We also had to drive 30 kilometers on that road when leaving the park to head to Kettle Lakes Provincial Park. There are quite a few seasonal sites at this park, and our campsite was between two of them. It made for a very quiet time at the campsite, as the seasonal campers weren't there. The park was littered with Kettle lakes, with the main campground being along Panagapka Lake and Lalan Lake. Both are small lakes ideal for paddling on. Motorboats are not permitted. The water was very high when we were there. It flooded the beaches and the playground. When out paddling, we were treated to the sight of an otter checking us out and numerous loons. The roads were nice for riding your bikes on and exploring the entire campground. We rated this park a 7.5 out of 10, and Jax rated it a 6 out of 10.
Then it was off for a 2-hour drive to Kettle Lakes Provincial Park on Saturday, August 2nd for the civic holiday weekend. The first part of the drive was on Highway 672 with no shoulders, and the rest of the way was on Highway 101. It has shoulders, but they are very narrow. This park has 134 campsites, consisting of 92 electric and 42 non-electric sites. The park also has a bunch of Kettle lakes in it. We like how spread out it was, with 3 beaches on 3 different lakes, and a road that takes you to many of the lakes. We especially liked that it had about 15 kilometers bike trails consisting of 3 loops rated as easy, moderate, and difficult. We easily did all 3 bike trails on our folding e-bikes. Ben took my bike out on the road that takes you around to many of the lakes. I'm guessing it has to be around 20 kilometers. We had a nice easy paddle in Island Lake. If I had to choose between bringing bikes or kayaks for this park, I'd bring bikes. It's a spread out park, nice for cycling with trails for cycling. The lakes are all very small and not really close enough for easy portaging between them, so paddling is limited. We rated this park 8 out of 10, and Jax rated it 5 out of 10. On Tuesday, August 5th, we headed off to Ivanhoe Lake Provincial Park. It was about a 2-hour and 10-minute drive on Highway 101 almost the whole way. We made a couple of stops in Timmins to replenish our supplies and get some gas. Ivanhoe has 93 campsites consisting of 52 electric and 41 non-electric sites. Included in that are numerous seasonal sites. What struck us both immediately in the park was the signs. All the signs were nicely framed with stained wood. As our time there went on, we noticed more signs. The comfort stations, the watersheds, the outhouses, all refurbished with stained wood. It made for a great first impression. The staff here care about their park. We met the warden, Daryl, who we found was a big part of all these improvements. This park had a toy lending library on the main beach. Kids could grab toys to play with while there and return them when done. Then what we really loved was the dog beach and puppy lending library. It was a nice beach with picnic tables and water that stayed shallow a long way out. Dogs can choose a toy to play with at the puppy lending library and play with it until they're ready to play with another toy. Jax and Cooper spent a lot of time at this beach, and it kept them good and tired. There is lots of water access to Ivanhoe Lake, which permits all manner of watercraft, and there is Saw Lake for non-motorized fun. There's good fishing in both lakes. We rated this park 8 out of 10, and so did Jax.
We left Ivanhoe for Wakami Lake Provincial Park on Friday, August 8th. It was an hour and 45-minute drive on roads with very narrow shoulders the whole way. The road into Wakami is a 6-kilometer gravel road that is surprisingly in very good shape. The park has 59 campsites. There is no electricity running to the park. All electrical needs are taken care of by a diesel generator. It's used to power the staff house, office, water pump, laundry, and maintenance building. There are no comfort stations, no showers, and no electricity at any campsites. People are coming to Wakami, they're coming for the fishing. Wakami Lake is fairly large and allows motorboats. Because of its size, it can get rough. There are a lot of waterfront sites where people often anchor their boats at their sites. A staff member from Ivanhoe came for one afternoon to host Nature in Watercolor in the Visitor Center. We all attended and did some painting. Sue and John had a waterfront site with a nice view. We spent a lot of time there, hanging out and having fun in the water. Cycling is a good way to explore this park. The roads are in pretty good shape, and the campground is spread out along the lake, making it ideal for cycling. We rated this park a 7 out of 10, and Jax rated it a 5 out of 10. On Monday, August 11th, our time ended at Wakami. Now, when we announced this trip back in April, many people reached out and warned us to not take the Sultan Industrial Road that is the shortest way to get from Wakami to Halfway Lake Provincial Park. It's shown as a 2-hour and 20-minute drive, which fit in very well with our plan. When I plotted out the route with Google Maps back in January, it showed to take the Sultan Industrial Road. We spoke to an employee of a gas station near Wakami and to staff and visitors of the park, and most suggested we not take it, especially with a new truck and towing a travel trailer. We would have to travel about 90 kilometers on a gravel logging road with logging trucks. Stone chips on the truck and trailer and windshield are common, and there are often washboard-type sections of road wreaking havoc inside the trailer. We decided to take another route. That's when we found out any other route would more than double the length of the trip. We decided to go south down Highway 129 to Highway 17, over to Sudbury, then north on Highway 144 to Halfway Lake. A 5.5-hour trip. I will say, though, that Highway 129 was a very scenic drive as it followed alongside the Mississauga River for a lot of it. But had I initially researched this route a little more at the beginning instead of waiting until we were on the trip, we may have chosen not to go to Wakami as it is out of the way.
We got to Halfway Lake and were immediately impressed by the filled-up station and garbage area. It was new-looking and spacious. This park has 219 campsites consisting of 122 electric and 97 non-electric sites. We were very impressed with the campsites. Most of the sites seemed similar in size and shape. They were big, flat, and open, yet surrounded by trees offering great privacy.
We're plugged into power here. Let's see where the pedestal is. 100 feet of cord to get to the pedestal. Be prepared.
The beach extended along a lot of the shore of Halfway Lake, with the dogs being permitted on the end closest to Hawk's Nest Campground. Dogs are permitted off-leash in the water, but need to be leashed on land. It was sandy and shallow for a long way out. Halfway Lake is a fairly large lake that can get choppy. Motorboats are permitted. We had an ideal day where it was calm and we paddled along the western shore of the lake and found a very nice private little beach. We were able to get out, stretch our legs, and take a little break there. If you're more adventurous, you could travel to the south end of the lake and portage to the next lake, where there are some backcountry sites. There are a few nice hiking trails of varying lengths and difficulties, with some nice lookout points. The only place to cycle is on the campground roads, which are pretty flat and easy to travel on. Now, I don't know if we just happened to be there at a bad time, but we found that the infrastructure of the park was generally lacking. There was always something out of commission at every comfort station, with one comfort station completely closed for most of the day. It was either the showers, the toilets, the urinal, or the laundry. There was always something. And the outhouses didn't fare much better, as some were locked, some pits were full, and some were in disrepair. Overall, we like the park and would recommend it, but they need to pay some attention to the infrastructure. We rated this park a 7.5 out of 10, and Jax rated it a 7 out of 10.
Well, we've just wrapped up our Northern 7-park tour, and it was a good one. 3 weeks, 3 nights at each park.
Yep. And 21 days in total. It was a great trip. And when we're coming up this far north, we don't want to just hit one park.
No, it's not.
It's not worth it. It's a long drive.
It's a long drive.
So, we were just happy to do all these parks. And we're kind of tired right now. Mm-hmm. I think Jax is kind of tired. He's just passed out on the mat right here.
Yeah.
And but we're so happy that we did it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And eventually we want to do the rest of the Boreal Route. Mm-hmm. We did a mini Boreal Route. The ones that we didn't do is Rene Brunel, Fushimi Lake, Nagagamassis, I don't know how you say that one.
Say that 10 times fast.
White Lake, and Potholes. So those are the ones we haven't done. We'd eventually like to do those at some point so we can do the entire Boreal Route. So as far as our favorites,
it's hard to pick because each park has something different, and if you could just take something from each park and put it all in one, that would be best.
But we know everybody's going to ask us what our favorite park was.
I know.
So we asked our friends, we're here with Jamie and Kelly and John and Sue. So they told us what their favorites were. Mm-hmm. So Jamie said his favorite is Wakami. And I wasn't surprised by that.
No.
Because Jamie is more of a backcountry camper and kind of likes the solitude. So he liked Wakami, that it didn't have cell service, that there wasn't electricity.
No comfort station. It was a smaller park, less populated.
Yeah.
It was in the boonies.
He really liked that he could put his canoe in the water right from his site and go fishing in Wakami Lake from there. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be good fishing for especially lake trout and walleye that he was going for.
Yes.
Kelly.
Hers was Finlayson. And I think she liked it. It was a smaller park again, but it was good for a nice park to do walking in. Right?
Yeah, she said she liked to walk around the park, and she was never far from the water. She really liked seeing the water as she walked around the park.
And it was close to the town of Temagami, too.
Mm-hmm. So we'd go in there and check things out, plus the fire tower.
Oh, yes, the fire tower. Mm-hmm. That was nice. Well, me, who was petrified of climbing the thing, but it was still cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that was Kelly's favorite.
Yes.
Sue's favorite?
Ivanhoe, mainly because of the dog beach and the dog lending library. That's a big thing, is to have something for the dogs. And it was like extra special and very unique. Mm-hmm. So.
And what's funny is John was in sync with Sue on this one. John agreed with Sue, and that doesn't happen very often.
No.
So John liked Ivanhoe as well,
yes.
And for the same reasons. And he just thought it was very well kept up and had a good first impression and actually a good lasting impression on it. So he really liked Ivanhoe too.
Yes.
So for me, I'm going to get to me because I know you're a little more torn about this. Mm-hmm. But for me, my favorite was Ivanhoe. Why are you laughing at that?
It's just continue.
Okay. I really liked that it had the dog beach, that we could hang out at the beach with our dog. Jax didn't need to be on leash. Jax and Cooper were playing in the water all the time. Cypher didn't join the dogs in the water because Cypher doesn't have good recall, so they can't let him off leash. Her, sorry, I always say him. But so they can't let her off leash. Mm-hmm. So Cypher just waded in the water, and she's not a big water dog anyway. No. But just waded in and up to her ankles in the water.
Yes.
And like that. But I love that they have the puppy lending library. That is the coolest thing ever.
It's very cool.
I wish more parks would do that.
Hopefully they will.
Yeah. And I love that they had the toy lending library at the main beach for kids.
Yes.
Like, that is awesome. Sometimes you can't bring all the toys for the kids because you can only pack so much.
Like the puppies, they like to see different things and play with different things they don't have.
Yeah. So that is really cool too. Mm-hmm. I love the maintenance of the park.
Yes, it was very well kept.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just going to say, like, the signs, how all the signs were framed in nice stained wood, how they're fixing up the outside of the comfort stations by flipping the wood around and restaining it rather than the M&R brown color.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated all the extra stuff they did at Ivanhoe. I forgot to mention what John said, too. What John said about Ivanhoe. Ivanhoe was his favorite, but he said if he was recommending it to anybody from Southern Ontario, he would probably recommend Halfway Lake, just because Halfway Lake is 3 hours closer than Ivanhoe for people in Southern Ontario.
Where we are anyway.
Yeah, so basically from Toronto to Halfway Lake is about 5 hours, and from Toronto to Ivanhoe is about 8 hours. So he said it's not 3 hours better than Ivanhoe isn't 3 hours better than Halfway Lake. So he would save the 3 hours driving there and go to Halfway Lake. And I get that completely, because Halfway Lake is very close to me to Ivanhoe. But the sites are better at Halfway Lake.
Yeah, very much so. I think they're the best sites of all.
So I was kind of torn. I was kind of torn between Halfway Lake and Ivanhoe too. But I really like the dog stuff and the infrastructure problems here at Halfway Lake. Ivanhoe does not have that. They exceed in their infrastructure.
Yes, they have the best vault toilets.
Cheryl's dreaming of vault toilets.
Well, Kettles, Ivanhoe, and Wakami. I gotta say, those are the top 3 nicest vault toilets in the parks we visited.
So what is your favorite park? Let's get down to it. What's your favorite park of the 7 we visited?
I liked Ivanhoe as well. I liked Kettles. I like Halfway Lake. I like Marten and Finlayson.
So as usual, Cheryl puts everything together and likes everything. She can't pick, so she takes it all.
Well, then we'd be here all day because I could say what I like about this, what I like about this, what I like about this.
So if somebody said, these are the 7 parks I'm thinking of going to, and I live in Toronto.
Yes.
Where should I go?
Probably here, Halfway Lake.
Well, there you go. Wow, you gave us an answer. Good for you, dear.
I know.
I'm so proud of you.
Tough sometimes.
I know.
Pulling teeth.
So Halfway Lake.
Sure.
Even though you didn't really like the infrastructure.
Correct. Correct. Hopefully there'll be some improvements in the future, right? Yes, there's always room for improvements, major improvements.
And who knows, it was just while we were here that they had all these issues. Maybe it normally is better, and it's just a bad time right now.
I don't know. Things are looking pretty old.
Yeah.
Old and haggard.
Well, so are we too.
So are we, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that's it. That's our wrap up for 7-park northern tour of our mini Boreal Route.
Yes, and we suggest everybody, if you can get up to see them, that'd be great, because they're all so different.
And we have a video on every one of those parks, and I'll put the links to them in the description below, so you can check each of them out. You can also go to our website, campingwiththecoles.ca, and we have all our provincial parks and all the park reviews that we've ever done listed there in alphabetical order, and you can just pick one and pick them all and watch them. So that's it.
That's a wrap, folks.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.